What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Sportology Podcast with me, Matt, and join me, Jack. How you doing today?
Yo, what's up? Pretty good. It was a crazy day of football.
So. Yeah, it was pretty entertaining for how bad the matchups looked on paper.
Yeah, we went over them a couple days ago. We weren't really that excited, but
no, for sure.
The games definitely were better than we thought they were going to be, so it'll be fun to talk about them.
Yep, let's get into it.
All right, so first we'll talk about the Cowboys and Lions game. So we both picked the Cowboys to win. I said it was going to be close, which it was. Jeff Driscoll kind of hung in there a little bit more than I thought he was going to. And the Cowboys' offense, they looked good, but the defense, I don't know where they were. They kind of didn't really show up. But we knew that the Cowboys' offense was going to kind of put up a good amount of points because the Lions' defense is 30th or 31st ranked in the league. And I'd said in the preview of Week 11 that Amari Cooper was going to have a big day. He didn't have a bad day, but it was Michael Gallup that actually had a really good day. He had 9 receptions for 148 yards, and Dak Prescott went off, as he usually does against bad defenses.
Yeah, I think we're both right saying that Detroit could give Dallas their money's worth, but overall, Dallas looked good again. Dak Prescott showed that he should be getting a big contract. I'm a little confused with Prescott. Every other week he makes me think he should get a big contract, and then every once in a while I think that he's not worthy of how much he's probably asking for.
Personally, I don't think he should get the contract. Though, in the games I think I've watched, he's only played well against teams that are bad. Like, they beat the Giants. The first 3 weeks where I never thought he's sick. They played the Giants, the Redskins, and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So those are 3 bad defenses. Then they go against the Saints.
3 straight losses. Two losses that are acceptable, and then you lose to the Jets.
Lose to the Jets, and it's like,
yeah.
How are you losing to the Jets? And then at that point I realized, okay, I don't think he's that good.
I mean, I guess you're right, too, because they've only beat bad teams, I would say. I mean, They lost to the Packers and Saints. They lost to the Vikings. They beat the Lions, which the Lions have got, I think, a couple unlucky results, and they could be a 6-4 team like the Cowboys. But
yeah,
you're right. We'll see. We'll have to see when they play the Patriots next week, and they got a pretty tough schedule coming up.
Yeah, so we'll see if Prescott takes them to the playoffs, then I think he deserves the contract. But until then, I'm going to stick to my original thought that he should not be getting that big of a contract. But that's just the market today, so I think he will end up getting the contract. But
for sure,
that's a discussion for another day. So the next game in the 1 o'clock slate was the Colts and the Jags. I picked the Colts to win. You picked the Jags.
I did. This is the first difference in who we picked. He was right on this one. I thought Jacoby Brissett wasn't going to play too well, and I mean, 15 for 24, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 148 yards. It's not too great. Nick Foles probably had the better day, but overall, a pretty big win for Indianapolis, would you say?
Yeah, it was a big bounce back win after that loss to the Dolphins. My main reason for picking the Colts was that it was Nick Foles' first game back from his injury after breaking his collarbone. And he did throw for almost 300 yards. I think most of those yards were in garbage time. But he also did throw the ball 47 times. So I think that's a good sign for the Jags going forward, knowing that he can take a heavy load. But in my opinion, I think that's too many attempts for this Jacksonville offense. Leonard Fournette only got 8 carries for 23 yards. For a running back that good, I think he should be getting at least 15 carries.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Most of the yards that Leonard Fournette has got this year has been out of the air on receptions, but still he gets 7 receptions today for 46 yards. That's still not enough yards from your running back that can, I think, like you said, should be getting more yards than 23 rushing yards a game. I think most of the pressure has been put on DJ Chark. I mean, he has had a great year, but at the same time, he's the only one scoring touchdowns or doing anything for them. So they got to figure something out with how their offensive play calling. It's got to be a little better and more split between rushing and passing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they do need to figure out something with their play calling because with a ground and pound back like Fournette, I don't think he should be getting almost as many receptions as carries. That's just not how I think he should be integrated into this offense. So we'll see how that changes moving forward because obviously when he doesn't get the carries, they lose, as you saw today.
Yeah.
So
Next one is
Yeah.
Buffalo versus Miami. We both picked Buffalo.
yeah,
Closer game than I had expected with a crazy 101-yard kick return by Miami's.
Miami made it interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Josh Allen goes off this game, 4 touchdowns, crazy game for him. What do you think about the game today?
Yeah, so I was tempted to pick Miami, like I said in the last episode, but I couldn't do it. I knew Josh Allen was gonna have a good day. He was 21 for 33, had about 250 yards. He had three throwing touchdowns, which is pretty good for him.
John Brown. Big
Yeah.
game for John Brown.
John Brown
2
went
touchdowns,
off.
137 yards, 9
Yeah,
receptions.
he's their number one receiver.
Yeah.
So
And like you said, Fitzmagic played good today. I mean, 32 for 45. Jack said, watch out for Fitzmagic. He played good today, but I don't know. They just couldn't get it done.
yeah, Miami actually just signed Allen Hurns to a 2-year extension. So, I mean, he didn't have a great day. 4 receptions, 53 yards. I don't know if he's worth that amount of money, but we'll kind of see moving forward where Miami goes because they sit at 2-8. We don't really know if they're tanking. I don't think they're tanking, but do you think they should be tanking?
In my opinion, I would tank at this point. I mean, you got the Bengals that haven't won a game yet. Don't look like they're going to win a game. And Washington, who probably won't win another game this season.
Yeah, I mean, if they
unless
can't
they're
beat
lucky.
the Jets.
Yeah, so, I mean, take the pick while you can. I mean, there's nothing to look forward to now for the rest of the season. Would you agree?
For the Dolphins?
For the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean...
What's the point of winning a couple games? It's not.
There's no point.
Exactly.
I mean, unless you're trying to build off for next season. I mean, Brian Flores, he got his first 2 wins. I think he's a new coach. He's learning. So the best way of learning is just get through at least one season. So I think we'll get a real test or a good look at what kind of coach Brian Flores is after next year.
I would have to agree.
So now we'll go on to the next game. It was the Vikings versus Broncos. Vikings were down 20 in the fourth quarter.
Crazy
Find
game.
a way to come back, win it 27-23. They now moved to 8-3 and 5-0 at home. Kirk Cousins had an efficient day. He was 29 for 35, 319 yards and 3 touchdowns.
You know, I'm not a big fan of Kirk Cousins, but I got to give it to him. He's been lighting it up recently. I think he has the highest passer rating in the last, 7 weeks out of any quarterback in the league, and they're doing something right. I mean, Dalvin Cook, of course, doing great in the air with receptions. He had 11 carries, 26 yards today, so his rushing was not his game today, but
It was receiving, yeah.
yeah, for sure. And Stephon Diggs is finally bringing it back after a very terrible first 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, he had 5 receptions, 121 yards and a touchdown. Most of those yards came on his reception where he scored the touchdown. I think it had to have been at least 50-yard touchdown that he had. I think that gave the Vikings the lead. So, yeah, it was a big touchdown for the Vikings. And you think they're locked for the playoffs, you think, or no?
Yeah, I think that they're for sure going to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, Green Bay, I think, will win the division, but Minnesota will easily be a good wild card and will make a tough opponent for whoever they're going to play.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The Packers had their bye this week, but we'll see what's going to happen with their division. The Vikings are at 8-3. I'm pretty sure the Packers are at 7-2. Or no, they're at 8-2. Sorry. But the Vikings schedule, I think it's okay.
I mean, that game against the Packers might determine it. I mean, Minnesota's
week
putting
16.
some good pressure on them right now to maybe contend for the division title.
Yeah, I mean, they have a big matchup on Monday Night Football against the Seahawks next week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big NFC matchup, just playoff positioning battle, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think we'll really see what type of team they are next week.
Yep.
So the one upset I think you picked the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I picked the Bucks
to beat the Saints. That did not happen. Saints won 34-17.
It's a good comeback game after last week for Drew Brees and the boys.
Yeah, the score doesn't really. It's not a good interpretation of the game. The Saints kind of pulled away late.
Yeah.
In the final 2 minutes, I think they had a pick 6. They for sure sealed it. But Jameis Winston,
4 interceptions. Jesus.
like I said, he's an automatic turnover machine.
14 interceptions on the year. 17 touchdowns. The rate isn't too great.
No.
Almost 1 for 1.
Yeah. On the other side, Drew Brees went 28 for 35, 228 yards and 3 touchdowns with a pass rating of 122.4.
Great game for him.
Yeah, his main target on the day was
Michael
Alvin
Thomas,
Kamara.
as always.
Well, it was
Oh,
Michael Thomas
yeah,
most
yeah.
yards, but 10 receptions for Kamara. Michael Thomas had the most yards, like you said, on the team. 8 receptions, 114 yards, and a touchdown. Did you see Jared Cook's touchdown?
I did.
It
Very,
was crazy.
very good.
He laid out
touchdown.
for it, brought it down.
We'll see if he's injured after that one.
Yeah, he looked like he was hurt. But we were talking about off air for fantasy. Jameis Winston always has a bad game, but then Mike Evans or Chris Godwin just somehow finds a way to.
Well, yeah, you see in this game too, 50 attempts. I mean, they're throwing the ball almost every down, and he's getting yards. It's just he's not. The interceptions are just not going down every game.
I mean, they ran it 8 times. How are you gonna win if you only run it 8 times?
I mean, they got the game plan, that's for sure. Pass the ball.
Ronald Jones, their number 1 running back on the depth chart, had 4 carries for 13 yards. I know people that are starting him in fantasy. I know they're not too happy, but I think they got to run the ball more. That's all I can say.
Bottom line.
Yeah, but Alvin Kamara, I think, is getting back to his old ways.
Yeah, he's looking good.
Both running the football and out of the backfield, receiving.
They look very dangerous on offense, that's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely got back to their usual Saints team that we are used to seeing. The Panthers, they're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, that was one of the upsets I picked.
Yeah.
Falcons over the Panthers after a big win against the Saints, and then they go into Carolina and get another big win.
Yeah, so the Falcons beat the Panthers 29-3. It was kind of right out of the gate. They were up 20-0 at half.
Yep.
I mean, Kyle Allen, 4 interceptions.
Yeah, it's a terrible day for him.
I said the other day on the second episode, I started Kyle Allen in a couple leagues in my fantasy, and I think he had 5 points. It's not
5
what we're
points, I
looking
think,
for. Not what we're looking for out of the quarterback position.
No.
Threw it 50 times like Jameis Winston, 31 for 50, 325 yards, and 4 interceptions. They got it in the red zone a couple times,
They did.
but then he threw picks in the
And
red
then
zone.
you look at the stat sheet, and for rushing and receiving, their best player, of course, Christian McCaffrey, trying to get that MVP vote.
He had a good
Jeez.
fantasy day, but 14 carries, 70
I mean, when you're
yards.
leading in rushing yards and receiving yards, that's just, I mean, you got to look at that and say, good for him, but where is the rest of the wide receiver? I mean,
It's not like
DJ Moore didn't have a terrible day.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's not like the other receivers had bad days. DJ Moore had 8 receptions, 95 yards. Greg Olsen, 5 receptions, 57 yards. But besides those 3 players, no one else had over 4 receptions. Curtis Samuel was the
I
next
mean,
best
you're looking at
player.
the stats and the yards, and you're saying, how did they not score a touchdown? I mean, they must have threw 4 interceptions.
They did, yeah. That's exactly what happened. But, yeah, Carolina, they started 4-0 with Kyle Allen, and they've lost 4 straight. So they sit at 5-5. We'll kind of see where.
You
their
think they're
season goes from
questioning
here.
the Cam Newton decision?
Yeah,
Because I think they're moving on. You think they're moving on?
I definitely think they were set on moving on. I don't know.
Now they might be questioning coming back these last 4
I think they
games.
kind of moved on too quick. They had that 4-0
I'd have to
start.
agree.
Like I
They
said,
didn't
with
give him
Kyle
enough
Allen.
time to show if he was really the real deal or not. I mean, he did have a good first 4 weeks, though. So
But I also think people are judging this Falcons team as a 2-7 team. Like they were 2-7 coming in this game, and I think people are judging them like a 2-7 team. After 2 weeks ago, something changed. They come in, beat the Saints, and now they come in and absolutely smack the Panthers. I don't think this is just Kyle Allen. I think this is the Falcons. I think the Falcons are gonna.
I think
They're gonna finish with at
win
least
against
6 wins.
Division Saints is a very big win for confidence, and yeah,
I
who
think,
do they got on their schedule?
Yeah, I
I
think
mean, they
they're
might
gonna
win
finish-
out.
I think they're gonna finish with at least 6 wins. They're not gonna win out. I think they can beat the Panthers again. They play them again.
Yeah,
They play the Bucks twice. I think they'll beat the Bucks twice.
they could beat the 49ers with how they've been struggling recently. We'll get into that
Could,
game
but
later.
yeah, and then they also
They
play the
play Saints
Jaguars. So
again.
I think they could win 4 or 5 of those games.
They need Julio Jones to start doing something.
Yeah, I mean, but Calvin Ridley's been stepping up too. So I don't know. Do
I
they
agree.
need Julio?
if they want to try to make a push to at least finish off the season with the positive, he needs to be their number one player, number one asset on offense.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. So I think one of the most surprising games for me, at least, besides that Falcons-Panthers game, was this Ravens-Texans game.
Yeah, I picked the Ravens, but I picked the Ravens thinking that it was going to be a shootout in a very close game, and it was the exact opposite of that.
Yeah,
it was a shootout on one side of the ball, and that was Lamar Jackson once again having a great day. Texans defense didn't impress me at all, and Houston's offense just really struggled the whole game. I don't know, they just could never get it going. Questionable pass interference call. Me and Jack were arguing about this earlier. I don't know what they're going to do about the rule. I understand both sides of it. I understand that the reason that they put the rule into place is to make sure that something so obvious doesn't get called or doesn't get missed in a big game like the Saints game last year. But in my opinion, that was a very easy call to make and reverse if they challenged it. So I don't know what the NFL is going to do with that. There's a lot of complaining around it, but I'm sure in the end it'll be talked about this offseason.
Yeah, so I'll talk about the game in a second. I want to talk about the rule, the pass interference rule. So my main argument for why they aren't overturning all these obvious, I guess you could call them, pass interferences is because they don't want to take the human part out of the game. Yeah, these refs might not make the right calls all the time, but I think that's part of football. They're not going to make the right call every time. So I think like you saw today in the Ravens-Texans game, it was obviously pass interference, but they're not going to overturn it because once they start overturning every single call, then why have refs at that point?
No, I can agree with that, but at that point, I think calling it just like taking the human part of the game out of it. I mean, if they say they had that rule last year and they called it an NFC Championship, you're still taking the human part out of the game because they didn't see it.
But I think
during the play,
like name me another time that egregious fouls that's written in the rule book has happened.
No, I don't. I think that I agree. I agree with what you said that for them to miss that call, it was so blatantly obvious. I totally agree with that. But if you're gonna put in a rule, you got to make it more clear than just like you can overcall a pass interference call because that's a pass in the books. That's a pass interference call. What happened on DeAndre Hopkins today?
In the NFL rulebook, it says that it needs to be egregious and obvious that it's pass interference, like egregious contact. It says that. So I don't know.
So I don't know if that means that they need to hit him and they need to fall down, and grabbing isn't a big thing, or if it's something about just not even going for the ball.
Yeah.
That's the question. I mean, if it's when they say egregious, if they mean that the guy has to hit him and make a lot of contact in order for him not to get the ball, I understand the ruling, but I'm still I feel like it's more than just me that's confused about the rule because you see wide receivers and coaches even complaining about it, and the NFL haven't really come out to say repeat that these aren't going to be reversed unless they're egregious.
I think the bottom line is, yeah, some of these plays have been obvious, but unless everyone in the stadium is 100%, yeah, that's pass interference, it's not going to be overturned. And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I can agree. I'm curious to see, I saw the record on the reverse calls, and there was 4 reverse calls this year. I just want to see what those 4 were because I don't remember, and I don't know if you've seen one this year, but those 4 I'm curious on what they were to compare to that DeAndre Hopkins one.
Yeah, I guess we just gotta watch out for them moving forward and see if any more get overturned.
And like any rule that the NFL makes, new rules always make controversy in the media and stuff, and once it's a couple years past, I'm sure everybody will understand the rule like it is now.
Yeah, so moving into the 405/425 slated games, it started off with the Cardinals-49ers. It's kind of a wild game. The Cardinals got out in front. They were leading 16-10 at half, and then the 49ers offense kind of just took over, I feel like.
Yeah, 49ers showed another good, hard-fought win against the Cardinals. I'm not really sure whether it's because they're divisional opponents or whether the Cardinals have a good game plan every week against the 49ers, but the 2 weeks that the 49ers have played them, they've struggled a lot. So I think that the 49ers did a good job of getting a hard, tough divisional win, and this is going to be big because Seahawks are looking good, and it's going to be a fight to the end on who's going to win the division.
Yeah, I actually picked the Cardinals to win this game, so I was kind of rooting for them just because I want to see Kyler Murray kind of succeed more. But Kyler Murray didn't play bad. He played pretty well.
He had a good game for a loss. So.
Yeah, so I think this Cardinals team can be good moving forward, especially next year. But we'll just have to see how the rest of the year goes for them. So the next game was the 0-9 Bengals against the 5-4 Raiders.
Not too much to say about that game. It was kind of a boring game. I mean, the Raiders did a good job getting a win, I guess, but both sides of the ball, they just struggled all day. So
yeah, so the Raiders won 17-10. I don't think you can really call this a good win for the Raiders, beating a 0-9 team by 7.
Win's a win.
It is a win, but I would have liked to see the Raiders win by more, especially if they're trying to make the playoffs.
Yep.
And then the final 4-25 game was the Patriots-Eagles. Another kind of boring game.
I would have to agree. 17-10. I was expecting maybe a little more scoring, maybe a little more controversy, but I wasn't too impressed. It wasn't a very entertaining game. Tom Brady played absolutely atrocious. Fave, what is your quarterback doing, man?
I think we saw a little bit of not new Tom Brady, but just like this older Tom Brady that can have these bad games.
I see he's definitely losing it at some point. I mean,
yeah. Dave,
26 or 47. When's the last time we've seen that from Tom Brady?
I don't know, but Dave, I think you got to start scouting for a new quarterback.
I mean, both quarterbacks in this game struggled. Carson Wentz, the last drive, was just terrible.
Yeah, the defense has played great, and I think that could have been part of the reason why Tom Brady played bad, but we were watching it. Some of the throws he made were just like, how are you missing that throw?
Yeah, same as Carson Wentz.
Yeah, we'll see if we can have a bounce-back game next week. But then, yeah, so those were all the games for the Sunday afternoon. What was the best game in your opinion?
I would have to go with the Vikings-Broncos game. Although I did not catch this game live, I thought that the Vikings really showed they're a team that you can't mess with. Going down 20-0, coming back, win 27-23 was a very big win for them. What was your top game of the week so far?
Yeah, even though the Ravens kind of blew out the Texans, it was this Ravens-Texans game just because of the Ravens' defense. I thought the Texans were for sure at least going to put over 20 points, maybe even over 30. But this Ravens team just shut down the Texans. They scored a garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, they would have been shut out. Lamar Jackson, he's looking like the leader in the MVP race right now.
He's got my vote.
Yeah, so I think the Ravens are the team to beat in the AFC. Maybe the Patriots, but it's them two up top.
Yeah,
for sure. So we'll see if the Texans can bounce back. I think they will. They sit at 6-4 right now, but I think the Ravens, they're an elite team. So now that we're done recapping the NFL games, we're gonna quickly go over our fantasy league, tell you if we won, tell you what's going on in the rest of the league, and then we'll wrap it up.
Alrighty, so my team playing Samir this week, I guarantee to win, which I still have confidence in, but right now we're losing. All of his players have played. I'm losing 141.3 to 68.6. I have 5 players to play. Greg Zerline in the game tonight after the podcast. Sammy Watkins on Monday night with Hunter Henry, Melvin Gordon, and Patrick Mahomes. So I need about 20 from each of them. It's funny right now. The projection is at 141.2 for Matthew's team and 141.3 for Samir's. Imagine that, 0.1.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a close one down to the wire. I took on the 0-10 Fat Dabs, a.k.a. Ben Block's team. He has put up a lot of points in the past and has never won. And for a while, he's projected to beat me. I was getting a little scared. But right now, I'm up.
Matthew came clutching with the jinx.
Yeah, Matthew did jinx Ben a little bit. I'm winning 94.4 to 69 right now. I have Cooper Kupp and Gerald Everett playing later, and he will have Tyreek Hill playing tomorrow night and Todd Gurley playing a little bit later in the game tonight. So I think we're looking good. I'm not trying to jinx it, not going to say that I automatically won, but I'm feeling good. I think we're going to move to 7-4.
Yep. All right, so some of the games this week, we got Lavovsky versus Connor. Connor changed his name this week to still one game back. A little banter there. Somehow Lavov's terrible team pulls in another win when he has one player that drops 0 once again. Connor had a terrible week. His running backs combining for 11 points. And then the other game of the week, we got a close one right now. Moscow and Team Walsh shooting out. They both got, one has 117 points and Team Walsh has 122 points. Looks like Moscow's going to win this one. And then you got Thomas, who
Changed his name.
changed his name to fucking disgraceful.
I mean, it's an accurate interpretation of his team right now.
Thomas has probably lost 6 or 7 games straight now.
Yeah, he's fallen to 5-6 on the season.
Alrighty, well,
He's kind of playing himself out of playoff position.
yeah, he is. And I'm not going to say that name, but Fave's team is
Vonjir Batanker. That's his old name. That's his old
somehow going to get a win. Let's hope. He's got 2 players left, needs about 2 points, so
name. Yeah.
the league's
So-
looking good. I mean, the playoffs are
Right around the corner.
coming, yeah. It's
So
around the
now that
corner.
we recapped kind of the whole league, what was your biggest disappointment from your team, and what player did better than you thought?
I mean, listen, Dalvin Cook dropped 16.7 this week. Like I said, I have 5 players to play, so I can't really say he's the biggest disappointment yet. But as of right now, 16.7 for Dalvin Cook is the biggest disappointment because I got Michael Thomas, who dropped 25.4, and DJ Moore, 17.5. Indianapolis defense, 9, which is the best my defense has probably done all year. So Dalvin Cook, as of right now, is my biggest disappointment. And most impressive, I would have to say DJ Moore with 17.5. Although Michael Thomas dropped 25.4. It's every week. So, how about you, Jack?
Yeah, so my biggest disappointment, like I said earlier, I picked up Kyle Allen in 2 of my leagues. He drops 5.7 for my team. Gets in the red zone a couple times. I'm excited. Maybe I'm thinking he's going to throw a touchdown. All I was thinking is just throw it to the end zone. I see him throw the ball to the end zone, and then it gets picked off twice.
Should have started Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I benched Carson Wentz and Jacoby Brissett. I regret that. I made the swap at like 12:45. Never do that. I've learned my lesson. And my biggest, or not my biggest, just like my most exciting player from Sunday was Joe Mixon. He's kind of been on
Looking
fire.
good.
Yeah.
Recently looking good.
He started out pretty awful, but now he's backed up his awful season with 3 17-point weeks, and he's a pretty favorable schedule down the road. So I'm excited, and I'm happy that he's finally paying off. He was my second-round pick, so I'm hoping he can continue the success moving into the playoffs. Matthew, any final thoughts on this Sunday?
Excited to watch the Rams game. In about 10 minutes, I think the game starts. And then Monday night's going to be a big one for me. I got 4 fantasy players looking to get a win against Samir and try to get that number 2 seed in the league. I hope you guys wish me some luck. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday, I guess. Jack, any last final thoughts?
No, I'm happy that I avoided the upset from Ben.
It's a close one there for a second.
And I'm facing Samir next week, so I'm hoping I'm not in Matthew's situation a week from today. But thanks for listening.
And we'll see you later.
My guy pretty like a girl, and he got 5 stories to tell. I see both sides like Chanel, see on both sides like Chanel. Swimming laps through pool water, eating like I'm underworld. Had my tattoos and